All right, so today we're going to be talking about open houses. And in fact, the term mega open house has become pretty popular. So we're going to teach you guys how to do a mega open house. Now, mega open house can mean multitude of different things, but it's a knockdown, drag out open house where we have as many possible people through the door. So you're going to have a couple of questions on how to exactly do these mega open houses, when, where, etc. So I've got a little bit of information for you guys that's going to be broken down from pre-work starting first, right? Because this is going to set our foundation for the actual open house. And the first one is, when should I hold one, right? A lot of people hold open houses at different times. You may have different uh, dates that you work with. Sometimes people like to do them on Wednesdays, etc. I personally like to do them Saturdays and Sundays because I feel like that's the best time for the most amount of exposure. So I try to always do these at least at 4 hours each day. So I do them both days, Saturday and Sunday. Okay, so you can let your seller know that entire weekend you're pretty much just going to be ramping up to get this open house as much traffic as possible through the door. So I always try to do it at least 4 hours. So we're going to do it like a 12 to 4, 11 to 3, something like that. This gives potential buyer not only a time frame for when they can schedule their, or set their schedule up to come to it, but you're going to let all of the neighbors around know as well. I also recommend an hour before setting it up for a pre-open house specifically for the neighbors. Okay, you want all the neighbors to know, hey, look, we're going to give you an hour that's just for you guys. This way you can come through without all the hustle and bustle of all the buyers through there. Now, who should you invite? Since we're going to be asking our sellers' neighbors to come visit the house prior to the open house, we're going to have to door knock, right? And a lot of people don't like door knocking. I understand it's time consuming, it's tedious, but I would definitely recommend it. So you should print off some sort of flyer, an open house flyer, inviting them out, knock on the door, introduce yourself, tell them that you're going to be hosting this, mega open house and that they're invited. And you can tell them about the hour prior to the actual open house. We're going to make sure that we also circle prospect. If you don't know what circle prospecting is, it's getting the information, the data for the actual subdivision, homeowners' names, addresses, etc. So you can do that as well. Now you can pair it with door knocking and calling, or you can just call if you would like. Some people are a little bit more nervous on door knocking, but I would recommend printing off some flyers, go door knocking, and also call the neighborhood to invite them to come out. Now, what you can do to entice someone to come out to the open house as well is you could offer raffles or prizes, right? So you could say, hey, I'm going to give a $100 Visa gift card out. You can give Apple devices out, whatever you want to do to entice them to come. We're trying to get as many people through the door as possible. Now, I know what you may be saying, hey, these people may not even be interested in this open house. They may not even be interested in buying, right? But if you can prove to the neighbors how extravagant this open house is going to be and how much work you're putting in, you may be able to build a relationship to be their next listing agent. So should you do video about your open house? Absolutely. Short form video is going to be your best bet on this. You're going to want to make sure you do at least 60 seconds talking about the items in the home. Okay, whether it's got a huge, primary suite, or it's got a gigantic backyard, lakefront, the location. Hey, this is an up and coming neighborhood, the businesses that are around there, things to entice people to want to buy a home, right? Looking through the eyes of a buyer. Now, what I would suggest is including the prizes. If you do have prizes, put it in that 60-second video, right? Hey, we're having this huge mega open house this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, 12 to 4. You're invited. We're going to be giving out prizes. If you want to, you could invite a local restaurant, food truck, something like that out. But we're not even necessarily talking about what's going on with the open house. We're just trying to get them to the open house, right? So use some things that are enticing, but we want to make sure that we're giving all the information on the reasons why we enjoy the house in the video. Now, what we're going to do with that video is you're going to send it out to all your buyers and seller leads. Okay. This is going to send it out to all your buyers. Even if they're not in that area, they may say, hey, that's a really great home. I could actually see myself living in that area. Maybe it's closer to my work, etc. And they may want to come out to check it out. Not to mention, getting them face-to-face again gives you more opportunity to talk with them about their home search, etc. Sellers, you're also going to want to send this out to your seller leads because you're showing, the proof is in the pudding of what you're going to do when you get to list their home. So if they've been on the fence about listing, and they see you've got this mega open house, again, you do prizes, you've got, food truck, or you've got different vendors out there, that is going to want to entice them to use you, right? So what are we going to do to get that invite out even further? We're going to create Facebook ads with it. We're going to use the same exact video that we shot our 60-second video with. And that 60-second video, you can put it out with the target marketing ads that they have. So I know there's a lot of IDX websites that typically will include something similar to this, an open house boost or open house property boost. If you want to do those things, by all means, that's an added exposure for the property. But we definitely want to make sure we're targeting all of the local zip codes that surround the zip code that this house is in. Now, if you're not familiar with target marketing, it's a totally another subject, but in short, you can target the audience based on the zip code, their income, their age, etc. So you can really fine tune it, or if they're likely to move, first time home buyer, something like that. So we want to launch that ad on Wednesday. The reason I say we want to launch that on Wednesday is because Facebook sometimes can take a little bit of time to approve, right? So if by the time it's approved, it may be Thursday. They may approve it Wednesday, but it usually is going to take about 24 hours for them to approve it. Then you're going to run that ad until the minute you leave the open house, right? So we're going to run it up to, and we're going to run it, all the way through the open house. Now, and I don't know if I included it or not, but when you're going door knocking, you want to do that about a week out. Okay, so we want to make sure that we've got ample amount of time. You can start with a short form video talking about that invitation. You can put that out on all your stories and social medias and reels and things like that. But we want to make sure that we're door knocking a week before, we're circle prospecting a week before, and then we're going to use that same invitation video that we've created and then do the Facebook marketing ads with it. So open house signs. I know a lot of times people will go out there, they've got a couple of open house signs. Maybe they go to their local MLS store, they buy a couple generic open house signs and they put them out there, right around the house, put 3 or 4 signs up. We do not want to do that. We want to put as many open house signs as we absolutely can or available. Some neighborhoods will only allow you to do X amount, certain colors, plan ahead for that. I've actually had a neighborhood that only allowed me to do 2 shades of brown, light brown, dark brown. So I had to have those signs made prior to the open house in weeks in advance. So just make sure that you know the subdivision really well. So put as many signs as you can. I always recommend putting 2 balloons on each sign. It draws more attention. We're going to put that on all the entrances to the neighborhoods, but we also want to make sure that we're putting them on the most popular and busiest roads. Okay, so even if it's not maybe necessarily in the subdivision, but there's a intersection that's close to that, you want to make sure you put on there. And I try to cover all corners. Okay. If you need to, there's a couple different companies out there. I'm sure you could get a local neighborhood kid to put all the signs out for you, or somebody you trust, probably somewhere around $50 if you want to save some time, but make sure you have that out with ample amount of time. So if you're doing an hour pre-open house, make sure you've got it out an hour before then, right? At least bare minimum.
Hey, Jay,
go ahead.
I'm just going to add in there on the open house signs, kind of my general rule of thumb when we're doing open houses is like 15 to 20. Most neighborhoods would support 15 to 20 signs, unless it's, one of the strict HOAs that limits the number of signs you can put up. But if there's no restrictions on it, 15 to 20 throughout that whole subdivision, every entry point, every exit point, every choke point in the neighborhood, flood that neighborhood with your sign, because that's going to draw as much traffic to the open house as possible, but it's also going to get your name more recognized throughout that neighborhood.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. And another thing that I like to do as well is if they have a neighborhood pool or they have a neighborhood rec center, if it's allowed, a lot of times they have bulletin boards or something like that. Go ahead, especially if it's in the summertime, right? People are going to be in and out. They're going to be there checking on local stuff. Make sure you've got a flyer that you put up there, right? If they have a local Facebook group, get into their local Facebook group if you can, and let everyone know, hey, we're going to be putting an open house, a mega open house. Try to title it a mega open house this weekend. You guys are all invited. Anyone you know, because there could be a good chance maybe their brother, sister, friend, a coworker, something like that is relocating, and maybe they want to live close to them, right? They love their neighborhood. And of course, who better to advertise the neighborhood than someone who already lives there, right? They're going to tell everything they love about the neighborhood and their neighbors to their friends and family. So if you guys have flags, put flags out. If you've got separate custom open house signs, put open house signs up on the actual property. We want to put tons of balloons. You want this to be out there so when people are coming to the road, there's no way they can miss it, right? They see all the signs, they're following it. Somebody once said, look, if somebody's not doesn't have any business in that neighborhood, they're not just going to see the signs that are in the neighborhood. So like we talked about, put them in the intersections, gigantic, balloons and stuff like that to really draw attention. But a thing you can do that's been really beneficial to me is partnering up, right? So don't just do this by yourself. It's a lot. Even if you pay someone for signs, it's still a lot of prep work, and it's still a lot of work on your own. As far as if you've got 40, 50 people coming through that open house, it's going to be hard to really get everybody on board and have a solid communication with all of them. So if you want more exposure for your open houses, invite some of your local lenders. You can invite home warranty companies, you can invite inspection companies to either be there, right, to give some extra added value, on different promotional deals and things like that. Or you can ask them for help, right? Hey, we want to do a taco truck or a food truck or barbecue or something like that. They will more than likely help out in supplying funds for that. And if they don't, maybe you need to talk to another local vendor. But another thing you can do is you can get with local businesses, a lot of great pizza places, stuff like that. They will more than likely help you out. And there's a good chance you could even have a flyer in their business. Something I've done in the past is, if I've built relationships, especially if they're within my area at some of the local gas stations and things like that, grocery stores, I will see if they will allow me, especially if it's a mom and pop family owned business. I'll ask if they will allow me to put my flyers out with my business cards. And so not only is it extra added exposure for you as an agent, but it's added exposure for your open house. So the next thing I've got here is lead capture. So we've done all of our pre-work, right? We've gone door knocking, we've circled prospected, we've got our open house signs out, we've blasted this 60-second short form video all over Facebook and other social media platforms. We've put all of our budgeting dollars into it, our marketing dollars into it. Now we're ready for the actual open house. So whether or not you have food, whether or not you have a band, whether or not you've had a DJ, I've seen it all, I've heard it all. That's totally up to you to get people enticed to come visit the property. Remember, this is about marketing the property, but it's also about marketing yourself, because we've invited a bunch of sellers out. So what I suggest is to get the seller's contact info, buyers and sellers contact info throughout your open house. There's a couple of things you can do. You can use tech to help you, such as an open house app. Most CRMs have it. Our CRM Chime has a great open house app that you can use. You've got your tablet. There's some pretty cool tablet bases. I've got one here, maybe kind of hard to see, but I've got a tablet base here that you can put on the front door. I've also seen, that I didn't add in there, something that I saw recently. You can get a custom doormat made, put at the front. Welcome to our open house, your contact information. They see that right before they even walk in. Then they're greeted with an an iPad right by the front door, and they can punch in their information. They can use an open house app. Like I said, most CRMs have it. You can ask them a couple of different ways. Hey, for security purposes, we ask that you go ahead and sign in, right? You could sign in for a quick survey, or you could sign in for the raffle. Now, the cool thing about the raffle, actually heard Tom Ferry say this, he was giving away an iPad, right? So his thing was, guess the closest to the sales price, the actual sales price of this home will win an iPad. So he's got a jar or a bowl of some sort, and you give someone, basically a piece of paper that's already pre-filled in. You could print it out prior. It's got their name, their contact number, their email, etc. Maybe a question if you'd like, if they're looking to buy or not, but you hand that to them. Make sure that you put some pre-filled already out in there, right? Because if it's the first person that walks in the door, they may say, hey, I'm the first person here, but you could easily say, this was from last open house, or this is from, we did this previously on this particular house, or, through showings, we allowed buyers to come in and do the same thing. But basically what you're trying to do is get their information. So if you have something that gives value to them, hey, I could win an iPad, they may fill out that form and put it in the jar, but make sure you reiterate that they're only going to have that chance if they fill out the information, and to fill it out before. Now, you don't have to be pushy with it. Just hand it and say, hey, have fun, take a look at the house. And before you leave, you want to make sure you fill this out so you have that chance to win an iPad, right? I've done gift cards in the past. I feel like gift cards are pretty solid. Maybe not everybody likes Apple products. I do have Apple products on here, but gift cards are pretty solid. And you just want to make it fun, right? So I've seen other agents where they build a little spin wheel and they give out koozies or something like that. If you're short on budget, you don't have to do that, right? You could do a $50 gift card. And I know that if I had a chance for a free $50 gift card, I would enter it, right? So more on the info while we're walking around talking about these potential leads, whether it be buyers or sellers, it doesn't matter. We should be building relationships with them, right? So we're taking mental notes. If you've got a little station with your computer or a notepad or whatever it is, after you're done talking with them, make sure that you go write down their contact information, their name, and anything that you found out about them. Because the last thing you want to do is not pay attention to them, right? If you've spoken with them, make sure you write down what you talked about, because you go reach out to them and say, hey, John, thanks for swinging by. You know, are you interested in this home? That's pretty boring, right? But if you can throw something in there, hey, I know you guys aren't looking for another 3 months. You live in this area, et cetera. I've got some partners that could help you maybe sell your home in that area. You have more attention to detail, and they're more likely to use you for that. So many people that are going to be viewing the home are definitely going to be neighbors. A lot of looky-loos, right? They want to see what's going on in the market. Maybe you have a list price that they feel is somewhat high. They come in, oh my God, I can't believe, do you actually think you're going to get 500,000 for this home or 400,000? That's a conversation that gets them started, right? So you want to make a solid first impression, which if you've got a really killer mega open house, that's going to put a very good impression on the neighboring homeowners. So try to keep notes on them and make sure when you follow up with them that you use some of those notes. So follow-up is super important. I've seen agents time and time again, they wait till Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to reach out to them. You are killing yourself on that. You got to make sure you hit them immediately. So if all your pre-work's been done, you've done the open house, you've got, you've built, whether it's some sort of trust with any of those buyers or sellers, or you've at least got their contact information, you want to give yourself enough time. So even though it's a 12 to 4 and you're going, okay, now I've got an hour open house for the neighbors, and then maybe an hour before then for signs, you want to give yourself an hour afterwards. And the reason being is you want to follow up with them immediately. There could be a chance they're going to another open house. There could be a chance they're trying to contact a Zillow or realtor.com or whatever to get showing access to another property. So follow up with them. Make a personalized quick video. Can be super, super, super quick. Okay. Another thing that I like to do is I like to give myself a couple of hours after that. So if it ends at 4, I like to give myself at least until 6. It's usually what I do. I usually do them 12 to 4 and then 2 more hours additionally, and I'll reach out through everyone. If I've got someone that's just super open about talking to me, or talking to me, and they have mentioned they don't have a real estate agent and they're ready to move, or they're relocating, or something that kind of gives me that triage effect where they're kind of first in line type thing, I'm going to reach out to them, right? And I'm going to see if there's any other properties. You can tell them, hey, I've got some other properties coming up, and I've got a couple of examples here, but you can set aside some time to go show some homes after that open house. So I've got here, sometimes making the biggest impression is just making yourself available. So if you've got someone that comes in and they're like, they just click with you, right? You feel like, man, I for sure got them as a buyer. There's a very small percentage of homes that actually sell through open houses. I've personally sold a couple of homes from open houses on my own listings. But if that home isn't the one for them, make yourself available for a couple hours afterwards and you can go show them some properties. So if they're a buyer, you could use this right here. Hey, first name, I just picked up the last open house sign. I wanted to thank you for swinging by my open house on 1234 Main Street. Remember, I have other properties coming to the market. I'll definitely send you those. Wanted to make sure there wasn't any other properties you wanted access to today. Did I miss anything regarding your search? Right, you're opening up yourself for some more potential showings and getting to know them more. For a seller, you could say the same thing or something similar. Hey, first name, want to personally thank you for swinging by my open house. Being that you're a neighbor, also wanted to give you a free equity report on your home. Not necessarily just a CMA for what they can list their home for, but an equity report, right? Or a market report. If that's all right, I'd like to send you one every 6 months just so you know what's going on in the market. You're providing value to them, right? You're inviting yourself into their home selling process or buying process by offering value. So that's something that I like to do. And then you can just put them on a market report, give it to them immediately, if they're interested in that. and then just follow up with them every 6 months. So Jonathan, is that something similar to what you guys do?
Yeah, pretty much. We definitely encourage the agents that are doing the open houses to, whoa, kick the camera, to make sure that you're following up. Usually we don't wait till we're picking up the open house signs. Usually it's kind of like while you're doing your shutdown procedures, if you will, turning off lights, making the windows are locked and doors are locked, that kind of thing. Doing a quick video out to the people that came through, thanking them again for coming to the open house, and inviting them to go see other properties if they're interested. The only thing I'll add is you had touched base a minute ago on getting like an open house app or through your CRM to kind of manage your sign-in procedures at the open house. Some of those platforms actually have where you can create a closeout process when you close that open house. So when you click finish open house on your app or whatever service you're using, it will automatically send out a message or an email or a video to the consumer that signed in to the information that they registered with, thanking them for coming to the open house, sharing your information, and just reconnecting those dots again.
Yeah, no, perfect. That's a great point. And that will also save you some time too, right? And if you've got the 2 hours available for showings, you may or may not have to use all that 2 hours. But if you've set yourself up with a program like that, I know our CRM that we use, Chime, you can preload, right? And you can have the variable for, hey, variable first name, to where it will preload the name in. So as you're entering them, and then for instance, with our CRM, that open house app, when they plug it in, it immediately goes in and it's set for whatever tag you want. So it can be 123 Main, right? And so it's going to be in there. So you can go through and send a message out to all of them, kind of eliminating that full hour of having to reach out. I personally would make sure that within that, and you can do it through Chime, that you have a video in there, right? Because that's a huge deal, whether it be a bomb video or even a video directly from cell phone to cell phone. But making it personal for them is going to be a big deal. And I think that will in turn set you aside from a lot of the other agents that are doing open houses. When they come in, just sign up, and then they don't get reached out till Wednesday. You've already speed to lead, thank them and ask them if there was any other properties they wanted to see. So I'm just going to kind of fly through this again real quick. So, we've talked about, when you should do them, right? And then inviting, how to invite different buyers and sellers to it, whether it's door knocking, doing the circle prospecting, getting the data for the neighborhood, which again will kind of ensure that you are the agent for that, right? If you're not already circle prospecting, you definitely should, but just letting that neighborhood know that you're the pro in that neighborhood. And then doing short form video and blasting that out to all your buyers and sellers. And then obviously telling a few things of what you enjoyed about the home, and then using Facebook targeting marketing ads to do that. You can post that on your Instagram as well, and trying to target those certain zip codes, the open house signs, and when to put those out. Make sure you've got enough time to do that and put them in the right points. If you do have someone you're hiring, print out a map, put X's on the map where you want them to put them out. That makes it a little bit easier. Partnering up with local vendors and local businesses will help you out, trying to get as much exposure as possible, especially the restaurants and stuff around in that area. If you've got flyers out a couple of days, a week out before, there's a good chance somebody's going to see that may not have, maybe they don't have Facebook, right? Maybe they don't live in that particular neighborhood. Maybe they live in the next one. So, and then just making sure that you've got the right lead capture tools. We want to make sure that we're getting all that work that we're putting in. We want to make sure it's for something, right? And that's to get people's contact information to make sure that we can help them out. So making sure that you have the right tools in place for that, whether it be tech or whether it be paper, dropping it into a jar for a prize, etc. And then just making sure that we're following up properly. Don't let all of that work go to waste. Follow up with them, make it personal, make it fun. Those things will ensure that you have leads to come, and it will also make sure that you are in fact marketing that particular property as much as you possibly can for your seller. So I don't know if you guys have any questions for me, but that's how we do our open houses, and it's been pretty successful.
Awesome. The only thing I'd like to also add on here is one thing that we do is we educate our agents that your main job at the open house is to try to sell that house, obviously, right? That's why you're holding it open. But like you had mentioned earlier, it's not very often that the open house actually sells the house. It's actually very few and far between. I've probably sold a handful over, 8, almost 9 years in the business, and it's just not very often. So one thing that we do is we will do a search around the area for similar properties to that one that are still available and on the market. So that way, if we've got somebody going through the open house and they're just not feeling it, and you can tell when somebody's not feeling it, then what we do is we say, you know what? I can tell you're not feeling this house. I don't know what the reason is. Ask them what that reason is. I've got a list here of 7 other properties that are still available as of this morning that are similar to this, but maybe a better fit either by location within the neighborhood, size of the rooms, layout of the house, that type of thing. Why don't I send you this list? And if you want to go take a look at something, I'm out of the open house at 4 o'clock. I'd love to meet with you maybe as early as 5 o'clock, if that works for you. And so then it encourages them to sign up because they want to get that list of houses that are available. It encourages them to follow up with you and let you know if they want to see anything different later on this afternoon or this evening. And 3, it gives you an excuse to follow up with them, a no fault excuse to say, hey, Jace, I sent you over the list of properties that are here in this neighborhood. Just wanted to see if any of those stood out to you and if you wanted to go take a look at any of those. It's a yes or no, right? But that's the engagement that you're going to get moving forward.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I would say, try to rely on some tech doing that too, right? If you can, having those properties through your IDX website. So just in case maybe they say, no, you know what, we're good. And then you see them back, 3-4 days later. Hopefully you've still been following up with them, but if you see them back 3 or 4 days later, you know that maybe there's a chance they're, something's changed and they're back looking. So no, all good stuff there for sure. And remember the, that is the first and foremost thing. We're trying to sell this property. But there may be a chance, like you said, that it doesn't work out. And again, also making an impression on sellers. So it's a great tool. If this isn't your listing, you're still doing everything you can to get the property sold, but you're also still making sure that, excuse me, you do everything that you can with your time in order to get leads to move on to the next property. So I think that's some great stuff there. And, just make sure that you're following up, because if you don't follow up, this is all for nothing. So anyways, if you guys have any other questions on that stuff, you guys can reach out to any one of us. Did you have anything else, Jonathan?
No, I'm good. I was just saying, awesome. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to us about any other tips or tricks on open houses, and hope you guys have the best mega open house, and looking forward to it.